Hi my loves. In this video I'm going to be talking about all the piercings I've retired and why I've retired them. Personally, I've retired quite a few. Let's talk about it. The very first piercings I retired were actually two at the same time. They were my first ever set of second lobes that I pierced myself with a Hello Kitty safety pin when I was like 12 or 13. And the reason I retired them at the time was because I was stretching my first lobe piercings and I needed the room to size them up. There's not really any scarring left of them. Then again, I didn't really have them for a very long time, I think. And when I did take them out, I didn't really wait for them to heal up or anything. I just like kept stretching because I was 13 and didn't give a fuck. I've talked about my first non-lobe piercing being an industrial, which is... So when I was when I had just turned 14, one of my birthday presents was an industrial piercing. Unfortunately, I went to a very dodgy shop. They pierced it with a bar that was entirely too short. I don't like, looking back, I don't think I have the anatomy for it. And I went to like get it changed for a longer bar because I was determined to, you know, have this industrial. It was my dream piercing, yada yada, you know, 14-year-old in complete hysteria because her first piercing didn't turn out the way she'd hoped. So I went to a different shop and they just wouldn't change it for me. So I just bought the jewellery and went to change it on my own. Of course, it was like a couple hours after and I unscrewed the ball. It slipped out of the first hole and I couldn't get it back in. Like, not a chance in hell. And so that is the story of how I turned my industrial into a Helix piercing only a couple hours into having it. Now, this Helix piercing, as you can still see a little bit, caused some hypertrophic scarring. I'll put in a photo somewhere. It was really bad for a few years. It was so fat. I had really bad scarring. Thank fuck it's gone down since then. But yeah, then I retired that Helix piercing a couple years after. I want to say I was 18 years old max because I was just tired of the scarring. It wasn't hurting. It wasn't like anything. I was just tired of it looking ugly and I was just really hoping the scarring would get better, which thankfully it did. And I also, because I don't learn, when I was 17, I think, I got an industrial for the second time on my other ear. You can still see the hypertrophic scarring on this side. Again, it's gone down because it has, like, I don't think I had this in for a full year after I got it. It may have been just around a year, but it wasn't healing properly. Again, I was sleeping on it. It was done again at a dodgy shop. They should not have pierced me without seeing my ID. It was just like a whole bunch of factors. I had the irritation bumps, I had the hypertrophic scarring, and it just had to go. So I took that out after only about a year, and ever since then I've just kind of stayed away from like the really thick cartilage piercing, except for my conch, which for some odd reason is fucking thriving. While we're on the topic of my ears, let's just finish this out. I did my second set of lobes again. How old was I? I must have been about like 21, 22. I did them again and took them out after a couple of months because they were in the same spot that I have them now, which is like halfway between soft tissue and cartilage, and they just weren't fucking healing because I was sleeping on them, I was messing with them. So I took them out because they hurt and waited a couple of years, and now I redid them again because I don't learn, apparently. So when I was 14, I got my septum pierced for the first time, actually at the same dodgy shop that did my first industrial. They pierced it way too low, of course, for the first, I want to say 2 years. I didn't give a shit, and I just wanted to have it because it was like my first and only facial piercing, and it was like the golden age of the septum piercing. It was like 2012, early 2013, something like that, and I thought it was the coolest ever in the entire world, and no one could tell me shit, even though my septum looked like ass. But then a couple of years later, I did want to start stretching it, and it started to bother me that it was pierced so low. So I took that one out just to get it re-pierced in the right spot so I could start stretching it, and it's still not in the right spot, but it's close enough, and I've lived with it for long enough now, so here we are. When I got the second industrial at the dodgy shop, I actually got my belly button pierced there at the same time without knowing that I don't actually have the proper anatomy for a traditional belly button piercing. Plus it was like 2015, 2016, so the golden age of the highest high-waisted pants and shorts and stuff. So the combination of like not having the proper anatomy and always wearing the high-waisted shit and also gaining weight during that time made my belly button piercing reject, unfortunately. Again, keeping with the theme of I don't fucking learn, I did end up re-piercing it twice. Once I just went like straight through the original piercing, so I tried to do just a traditional regular belly button again. It rejected, it started turning, and it like didn't heal properly, so I took it out. And then after I had taken it out the second time, I felt the need for some reason to give it one last go, but get a floating navel instead. Needless to say, that one also didn't work out because it went through like a bunch of scar tissue and probably wasn't pierced properly either. So rest in peace, belly button piercing in all its forms and variations. You will be missed because it is one of my favourite piercings. I think they're so cute, but yeah, don't have the anatomy for it, unfortunately. Shortly after my belly button journey, I also retired my tongue piercing because I got my tongue split. I miss it. I did think about getting each side pierced again, but I don't think I'm quite ready for the amount of pain I'll be in. And I am, now that I'm older, also a bit more aware of like gum damage and like dental damage that piercings can cause. I had my tongue pierced from when I was 17, 18? I believe 17, up until I got my tongue split at 22, so I had it for like a good 5 years. Never had any issues, loved it very much, but it was unfortunately time for her to go and make room for something else. I have also retired my nipple piercings. I had them done when I was freshly 18. They were pierced with a too small gauge, so I had to stretch them up, which was not fun. Well, the reason I stretched them up in the first place was because they were not healing properly. Like they were healed, but then like 2 years after, they just started like being really irritated and just like not good. So I stretched them up because the bigger the gauge of your piercing, the better it heals traditionally. So that was kind of my last ditch effort at saving them. I had a really hard time letting my nipple piercings go, and I did go through like a really long period of just like agony and irritation bumps and just like bleeding. I did not want to let them go, but one day, like, I got out of the shower and I was looking at my nipple piercings, and I could see with one of them, because they were starting to reject, travel outwards like through my nipple, and I could see the bar through the skin of my nipple, and I decided right then and there it was time for them to go, as sad as I was. I think my nipple piercings are, like, to this day, the piercings I miss the most that I've retired. But it was their time, and I don't see myself getting them back, like, in the near future. I have, like, no desire to go through all that again. I am considering like a nipple boob tattoo situation to compensate for that, because I do love like a decorated nipple. So around that same time, when I was having all these issues with my nipple piercings and like them rejecting and everything, I also got a Christina piercing, which is a surface piercing on the mons pubis, so a genital piercing, which I also loved very, very much. I think they are gorgeous. Unfortunately, it wasn't pierced deep enough, and they also used the improper jewelry. But yeah, there were just like a couple factors of why it didn't stick around. I only had it for maybe 6 months. With that one, I actually didn't really take too much time to ponder whether I should take it out or not. I just took it out because it was rejecting, and I did not want like a massive scar down my genitals, you know? So I took it out. I do miss it, but I'm not as sad about not having it anymore as I am about my nipple piercings. Like those, my nipple piercings on my belly button, they like really pain me. Everything else, like, take it or leave it, I don't give a shit. But those two, my goodness, I mourn them every day. Let me think, because I think we are down to the last 2/3 technically piercings that I've retired. The reason I say 2/3 is because the first one I'm going to talk about is my vertical bridge / third eye / forehead piercing that I actually had done 2 different times in 2 different ways. The first time I had a dermal anchor, which stuck around for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I'm not really sure. And I ended up yanking it while getting changed one time, and it just like sat crooked. It sat crooked like this, like it was, you know, moving away from my forehead, and I could just watch it like reject and grow out more and more every day. And with that one, it also took me a really, really long time to actually retire it, because it, like, visually, it was one of my favorites, because it just like, I feel like it balances out my face quite well, because I have a lot going on like down here, and it was just missing something on top right there. So I retired that after a year and a half ish. Just yanked it, and that was that. It didn't even bleed, so it was ready to go. Then I actually got it redone as a surface piercing at the beginning of this year, and retired it after only 6 months, because how do I explain this? It was done further down than I would have liked it, because I you know, scrunch my eyebrows a lot like this, and it was like the bottom part was in between my eyebrows. So if you move this a lot, right, it's gonna move your piercing. The top part was perfectly fine. It's really just the bottom part that started rejecting, unfortunately, and it's like nothing I did helped it. So I did retire it in like May of this year, I think, and I am still quite sad about it. It wasn't meant to be. The last and most recent piercing that I've retired was actually finally my bridge piercing. I had it for about 5.5 years. I got it as a birthday present for my 21st birthday from me to me. Again, because I was like, I have so many piercings down here, I need something up here. Like from the beginning, there was like an irritation bump, always in the same place, and nothing that I did, like no amount of cleaning, no amount of titanium jewelry, longer jewelry, shorter jewelry, nothing like really helped it. And at the end of the day, it was also crooked, like not in this way, but it was, how do I explain this? Like, if you look down my nose like this, it was crooked like that, you know? And I had thought about taking it out for a long time. But then my dermal anchor fell out, and then my surface piercing fell out and everything. And I was just always like, well, but I need something up here because it's not balanced and everything. But then like 2 weeks ago, I just finally decided it was time. So I took it out, and I can't say I miss it. I am like a little sad because I wear glasses all the time. You couldn't really see it anyway. So it's more of like a me issue of like knowing it's gone. I can, which is like a massive win for me. I can finally go crazy rubbing my eyes again without having to worry about the piercing, which is pretty great. And yeah, that's it. Those are all the piercings I've retired over the years. There was a grand total of this many that I don't have anymore. I will fix that in post because I've lost count and I'm not about to rack my little brain. It's like 1 AM. Once again, thank you so much for joining me today. If you would like, I would love to hear about the piercings you've retired, or that you might want to have in the future, or that you're thinking about retiring, maybe. Let me know in the comments. Let's chat about it. And that's it for this video. So thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you again next time. Bye!